Okay, hi everyone. My name is Peter Llewellyn and welcome to another FirstMedCommsJob webinar. Delighted to have the guys from Ashfield today, introduce you in a moment, but just so that for anybody who hasn't been into one of these webinars before, we try and keep it fairly informal. We'll have a presentation from the Ashfield guys and hopefully some good questions and answers in the session that follows that. Essentially, these webinars are free for everybody. We're trying to give you insights into MedComms, the business. I run a community activity called MedComms Networking, which is global community activity for people in and around medical communications, education, publishing. Out of that, we have developed a resource at FirstMedCommsJob.com, which hopefully provides lots of useful information about what it's like to work in MedComms. We run some very good meetings, we produce careers guides, there's articles and so on. But these Zoom meetings give us another opportunity to reach out to more people, and I'm trying to get more people involved, more agencies involved, to give you as many insights as we can. All being well, we'll record it, and the recorded session will be available at NetworkPharma TV and indeed at FirstMedCommsJob after this session. Thank you, as I say, very much to the Ashfield team. I'll let you introduce yourselves. I'm going to hand over to Neil to kick us off. So thank you, and over to you, Neil.
Thanks, Peter. So yeah, my name's Neil Marmont. I'm the Programme Director for Allegro at Ashfield. I've been with the business about 15 years in various different scientific, managerial, and now training roles. Katie?
I'm Katie Johnson. I'm on the recruitment team for Ashfield Healthcare, so helping to put together the assessment days and recruit for associate medical writers.
And I'm Ellie Thomas, also known as Eleanor. I was on the first ever intake of Allegro, and I've recently graduated, so I've been here just over a year now.
Great, thanks guys. So what we're going to do, Peter, we're just going to provide a brief overview of Ashfield and what we do. Then we're going to go into Allegro, what is Allegro, why do we do it, and how do we recruit for it. And then we're going to cover off, Ellie's going to cover off what it's like to actually be on the programme. So yeah, probably about half an hour, and then obviously happy to answer questions and anything else after that. Slides. We'll just get the slides up. Okay. So just in terms of who we are, so Ashfield Healthcare Comms, we employ about just over 1,000 employees across the globe. We have all got backgrounds in either healthcare comms, clinical practice industry, or academia. And about 90% of our medical and scientific services teams, so where the writers sit, have degrees in a biomedical discipline, whether that's BScs, MScs, or PhDs. In terms of our services, so we probably deliver somewhere in excess of 11,000 projects annually, and across the whole kind of broad spectrum of healthcare comms, so both medical affairs, commercial work. We still do a lot of scientific publications-based work, a lot of meetings work, and a lot of strategic work. So we kind of work across the full service of healthcare comms. So what's Allegro? So Allegro is our program for associate medical writers. It's our entry-level program for aspiring medical writers, and it's a 12-month, what we call accelerated learning program. So the big thing with Allegro is we're trying to get entry-level writers from associate medical writer to medical writer in 12 months. And we do this via a program that's made up of an initial training phase, followed by 2 5-month agency rotations in different agencies within the healthcare comms group. And that takes us all the way through from initial recruitment all the way to agency placement at the end of the 12 months. The training phase is first 2 months of the program. So following successful recruitment, you join the business and we enter the training phase, which is 2 months or 8 weeks of training that involves skill-based learning and practical application of that. So we get the guys that are in the Allegro program to practice delivering work that we delivered in the business previously. So it's it's as close to live work as possible and gives the guys a proper flavour in terms of what we do. Following the 2 months training phase, we then have 2 5-month rotations in different agencies. The whole point of the rotations is to increase the network that these guys have, so meeting and working with different people, to work in different agencies. Although all our agencies are under the same banner, their culture is quite different, so to experience different cultures, to give people the chance to do different types of work, whether it be publications work or more meetings-based work, and to work in different therapy areas. So it's all about variety and exposing these guys to as many things as possible within a 12-month period. At the end of the rotations, the Allegro writers are placed in an agency team full-time, and that agency placement is based on a number of things. Clearly, it's based on business needs. So as a business, where do we need the support from a writing point of view? But we also try and play to individuals' strengths and preferences. So, if somebody's really enjoyed their time working on a meetings-based account or a publications-based account, then we try and accommodate people based on their preferences as well. Because at the end of the day, that's where they're going to be the most successful. And yeah, like I said, what we're trying to do is to get people from associate medical writer to medical writer in 12 months. So being a fast track program, there's lots of mentoring, coaching and feedback that's involved, and these guys get plenty of feedback in terms of how they're tracking against what we've got. We've got a series of predefined performance benchmarks that we look at over that 12-month period. So that's how it kind of runs. In terms of the training phase, so that's based in we've got a training zone in one of our offices in Macclesfield, our head office. So there's the requirement to be in Macclesfield for the training phase. But then when it comes to agency rotations, we place associate writers in all our UK offices. So at the moment, this is a UK only program, but we're able to place writers in Macclesfield in the northwest, Manchester, but also London, Glasgow, Witney, Maidenhead and Ashby, so our other offices in the UK. So why do we do it? So why have we set it up? So Allegro has been running, well, we set it up about 18 months ago, and we just had the first intake through. So first intake have just completed 12 months. And we currently have about 60 plus people that have either completed or are going through the Allegro program. So it's quite a big thing for us. In terms of why we do it, it's all about providing that kind of strong talent pipeline to fuel growth of the business by bringing in people at entry level and then training them up and hoping they'll have a long-term career with us. So yes, recruiting, training, developing talented people as an initial step in a long-term career development pathway. Allegro at the moment is purely on the scientific side of the business. So our business is set up with the scientific side and the client services side. Allegro at the moment is purely for entry-level scientific staff. We set the program up to address resource needs across the business by providing a trained group of medical writers to the agencies after that 12-month training phase. And what we also wanted to do was to provide a level of quality assurance in the way we develop our associate medical writers, so to ensure that they all get the same opportunity, the same input, and can develop at the same kind of rate within the business. Allegro is there to support the agencies in training and also the pastoral care of associate medical writers. So I work alongside mentors and coordinators within each agency to look at additional training needs over the 12 months and to line manage these guys as well. Yeah, and we want to build confidence and ability through continuous learning. So that whole 12 months is all about learning the business, learning new things, experiencing different things, and building the individual's confidence through that kind of process. Okay, over to Katie.
So, what do we look for in our associate medical writers? Alongside having strong writing skills, we look for candidates with excellent soft skills. Key to being successful in the role is having great teamwork skills, definitely alongside your communication skills. And we look for these, to help you progress within the role if you've got the fundamentals and the soft skills there. The entry requirements then, so as Neil mentioned, the associate medical writer role is for people with a scientific background, so we'd look for a 2, 1 or above in a life science or bioscience degree, and that you're eligible to work in the UK. You must be able to commit to the 8 weeks of training, so that is the core training that you'll get up front, which we don't allow any extended leave, as every day of the training is crucial to your development programme. Your CV and cover letter should outline your transferable skills and why you'd like to become a writer. Think to be able to draw upon your experiences either throughout your education or throughout your part-time jobs or whatever you're doing currently, and highlight those as to why they would make you a successful medical writer is really what I look out for, alongside having that passion and interest in science. How do we recruit through these then? So we have been running assessment centres to recruit for our associate medical writers long before the Allegro programme. It's our tried and tested method, but since introducing the Allegro programme, we run 4 assessment dates per year that are about 6 weeks ahead of the start date, which tend to go in line with the season. So we'll have a spring, summer, autumn, winter start date. Before you are invited to an assessment centre, you would have a screening call with myself to go through the role in more detail, but also you'd be asked to complete a short online video application, which along with your CV and cover letter would be sent to the assessors on the day. On the day itself then, we assess your writing skills, your teamwork ability and communication skills through a number of tasks that we'll do throughout the day, which include writing tasks, group exercises and an interview. And what we can do from that is really build a picture of you as an all-rounder. Obviously writing skills are important, but we would look for somebody who would be fitting in with the company values and that you're a good culture fit for Ashfield too. Throughout the date itself for the assessment centre, over the lunchtime we hold a networking session with current associate medical writers who are on the programme or have either graduated from the programme, to talk to you in more detail about their real life experience and how they found the Allegro programme for them. The thing that I would stress on the day is that we are looking for you to demonstrate the company values, but that you should approach it with an open mind, lots of enthusiasm, and just put you all into it. And just going on to our company values, and so you can have a look at those. Things such as your energy and partnership, which you would demonstrate through your contribution to the tasks, and your inquisitive nature that you would show on the day, are things that we would associate with the company values. So that's that. Now to hand over to Ellie.
So as I said, I was on the first ever intake of Allegro and started early January last year, finished, graduated January this year. And so you've heard kind of how it all works on paper. I've done it now, and so have my friends. So I'll just give you a little overview of what I think the sort of key benefits, the key features of the programme are. So as Neil mentioned, you have an 8-week training phase at the start. So this is very comprehensive. It takes you, so I came from undergrad straight into this job. So it takes you from having written, your dissertation, maybe the odd poster, and to the level of being able to produce consistently good materials for the client. So we're working for big clients like AstraZeneca, GSK, you need to be able to do that with confidence. I think that's a really key part. It does build your confidence. Through the whole training phase, you've got one-to-one line management from Neil, and feedback, so you can learn in a safe environment. You're not being thrown in at the deep end, which I think is really important. The other thing that I think is really nice is you're going through all of this with 14 or so other people that are all from a similar background. You're all learning together. It's really nice. It's not your first day on the job and you're the only new person and you're completely out of your depth. It's a really, really like nice and safe environment. And then the experience that you can gain from the program. So by doing 2 rotations, you do one in publications, one in medical affairs. You're in different parts of the company. Like Neil said, the different agencies have very different feels. You're placed in them based on where the program leaders think that you're best fit, you would be the best fit. So it's a really nice feel. I did one, I've mostly worked on respiratory. I've done a bit of hepatitis B as well. I've got to experience medical affairs and publications, so I have a good idea of what I prefer. And now I've had an input based on that into where I've been placed permanently. Also, there are opportunities to travel around the world based on where the client is presenting their data at global congresses. I have friends in their first year that went to Chicago, one went to New York for an ad board, Vienna, Lisbon, Paris, all over the place. There's a lot of opportunity to travel, which I know I was really attracted to when I joined the company. And again, in terms of opportunities, I really liked that joining this company, there was a very clear progression. So as Neil said, you go from associate medical writer at the end of your first year. The idea is you then are promoted to medical writer. There's a clear path after that, to senior medical writer, and then either principal writer or scientific director. And I think it's nice to join a company where that is set out for you and there is the guidance on how to get from one stage to the other. And like I said, by going through the company and doing your rotations, there's a lot of opportunity to move. If you found an account that you really wanted to be a part of or that you didn't enjoy as much, you wouldn't have to find a new job. You could move around very easily. You get to, if you said, I want to try something else for a bit, that's possible. And also I think something that's really nice at the company is anyone can work dynamically. If I were to want to work early in the morning and leave earlier, or for people that have children and need to leave to get their kids from school, you can do that. Beyond the 8-week training program, anyone in the company can do that. And the network, I find that by speaking to people in the company, by doing the Allegro program, we know an incredible amount of people because of your fellow people who've done Allegro, from your rotations, from being placed permanently, through the training. Your 8 weeks training program is led by people who are in the business in all different parts, all different therapy areas, all different roles. So we find that you know an amazing number of people. I really enjoy that. I think that's quite unique. And also each rotation you have a mentor as well as your line manager from Allegro. So as well as one-to-one feedback, you've got that person who's fighting your corner, somebody who really wants you to do well, someone who will really sort of help your development. I think that's really important. And something that I know me and Katie are quite into is the social committee work. I think that this company is really, really good for that. Every office has its own budget. We do picnics, we do nights out, we do parties for Christmas, we had one for Veganuary here, we do them Halloween, all of the time. Really, really good. So that's kind of Allegro as a whole, I found, especially my first year. A bit more specific to me. So I know Neil showed you this before. So like I said, the aim is to go from AMW to MW. I came straight from undergrad. I did biomedical science at MMU. I came out with a first, but I didn't do a master's or a PhD. Came here, did the training phase. This is Neil teaching me all about medical writing for our promo video. These are some of the girls that I know from Allegro. Like I said, it's really, really nice that you're not starting on your own. I actually live with 2 of these girls. Then I did my first rotation in our agency called Zoetic Science. That was my publications rotation. This was the first poster I did. My mentor brought it back from the Congress for me so I could see where all my hard work had gone, all of the stress, but it was fun. It was good to see it in real life. And this was the World Cup party that we had. I really enjoyed it there. Like I said, we're placed based on where we're considered to be a good fit. So I really, really got on with everyone in both my rotations. That was hepatitis B mostly that account. And then second rotation, I did my medical affairs account. I was doing educational slide decks for MSLs. And at this point, we opened the Manchester office, which is really, really fun. I really like it. It's a really nice atmosphere. Everyone's really friendly. And this picture here is from HIV Glasgow. So again, it was really good to, everybody got the opportunity to go and see how congresses work, where your work is going, got to chat to people, really got to sort of experience it, go to talks. And then at the end, I was promoted to medical writer. This is me, Neil, and Richard Lawrence, who's head of business in Europe. That's right, yeah. So that's, yeah, graduation day, from graduation to graduation. But yeah, that was sort of my journey. I've really loved this year. Obviously promotion's lovely, but I just think the whole experience was really good. I've learned an incredible amount. Stuff I didn't even know existed when I graduated, I'm now doing on a day-to-day basis. And I do feel like Allegro really gave me the confidence to do that. I can call up a client, no problem. I could go to meetings. I could, you know, any of that sort of stuff that a year ago would have seemed crazy. I've really loved it. That's it.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Katie. So that's our presentation, Peter. So we're happy to take questions. We'll get rid of the slides and we'll hand it back to you.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, and thanks very much to all three of you for that presentation. Just a reminder to everyone listening to this, you've got a chat button and a Q&A button. So do start firing in your questions at us. I think it's probably worth just emphasising a couple of things here. Although I think it probably came through your presentation. I mean, I know it's difficult to be precise about this stuff, but Ashfield is one of the biggest sort of MedComms sort of groups. You know, you're talking about quite a sizable operation there. And I think if people are looking at this and thinking MedComms, for me, you've got to understand there's a whole range of sizes of agencies and everything else out there. So you are one of the biggest. You are also very much international, aren't you? Although what we're talking about today, the Allegro program, you made the point, is very UK based. This is an international operation. Just on that note, one of the questions that has come in straight away is from somebody in Singapore, looking like he's saying that they want to stay in Singapore and how can they avail of the opportunity. And the truth is, presumably as far as Allegro is concerned, you have to come to Maxfield, you have to come into the UK, you have to be part of the UK. But it's worth making the point, I guess, Singapore is a growing area for MedComms out there. But we need to sort of like separate those two issues out. I mean, Neil, do you just want to answer that question specifically? Am I getting it right? Sort of?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, as it stands, Allegro is purely UK-based program, and the value of it is actually being in the UK, working with the trainers, working with a mentor, working with a coach. In that one-to-one kind of feedback is what makes it successful. So yeah, at the moment it's purely UK focused now. Whether we look outside the UK in the future, quite probable. But at the moment we're only sort of 18 months just over into this. So there was kind of a proof of concept phase. Does it work? You know, how does it run? We've just done the first full 12 months. So we know how it runs from a 12-month perspective with one group. And we've got 3 other groups currently at different stages of the program. So yeah, at the moment, purely UK, and you would need to be in the UK to benefit from Allegro. Yeah.
Okay, and sorry, just to slightly follow that one though, and I can't keep up with where you all are based. Have you got a sort of Singapore-ish office?
No, we've got an office in Japan.
It's Japan, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But as I say, a point that might be worth making there is that Singapore and Asia is becoming quite a busy area for MedComms, so there should be some more opportunities out there. Also, just to follow on, again, I guess it's implicit, but you know, you're a big outfit, and your training program is quite a sizable training program. I think you know, 40 odd people a year or something have come through in the last year. Those sorts of numbers, 15 to 20. Am I getting my numbers right on each of the sort of like the sessions? That does put you well above what the other agencies are offering, and there are a number of training programs in the business now, but you are at that sort of bigger level, and I think it's worth just making that point. And also, Ellie, it's quite nice, you made the point very clearly, you came out with the first degree, and I think it's just worth touching on the fact that you know, we talk in MedComms, and a lot of people get the idea in MedComms, you sort of have to have a PhD to come into MedComms as a writer. And I'm always trying to be careful with what I say to people, that the PhD does seem to help, postgraduate does seem to help, but there are opportunities for BScs and so on. And lots of it is down to people experience and so on. It might be worth just saying that if people are interested, I have done a study of entry requirements or entry-level qualifications of writers who joined the business in 2018, and you can go and have a look at that at FirstMedCommsJob, and it did reinforce that the PhD as a postgraduate experience is all very, very useful, because a lot of people do come in with that qualification, but it's also useful to know that we can come in without that qualification. And again, Neil, do you just want to talk to that just briefly, because, and you've got one of your comments on the article that I published, you know, you're firmly of the opinion that it's more the person than the qualification, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we look at you know, BScs, MScs, PhDs. We look at the person. We look at you know, can they demonstrate our company values? Would they fit well into the business? Clearly, can they write? So yeah, you need to be able to write. That's a given. I think from an Allegro point of view, of the 60+ people we've got or had in the program, probably about evenly split. Yeah, so about 50, maybe 50% have got PhDs, 50% haven't. And yeah, I think with the PhD, you've obviously got a lot more life experience, and you maybe will have done some writing, but we've seen no real difference in terms of ability to progress within a 12-month fast track program. So if you've got the right attitude and an ability to write, and you know, get involved in stuff, be self-motivated, all the kind of teamwork things that we look for, then you can do just as well, for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so let's just follow. We're starting to get a number of questions coming in, and I'm trying to flick through them quickly as you're talking. Let's just start at the beginning, and we might as well make this very clear point, because I'm not quite sure you did in the presentation. If somebody's interested in applying to be on this program, where are you pointing them at?
Where are we pointing them at?
Yeah.
In terms of location?
No. How do they apply?
Okay.
So we have a recruitment inbox, and the email address for that is ahcrecruitment@ashfieldhealthcare.com. That's always open if you were to send a CV and cover letter at any time throughout the year. We can get in touch through that, but when we are recruiting and advertising, the roles will also be posted on the website, LinkedIn, NetworkPharma, places like that. But if you're unsure of when the dates are, if you've not seen online and wanted to find out more information, I'd recommend emailing and getting in touch directly.
Yeah, so there's no problem, basically people just emailing anytime and saying, this is me and when's the next program, sort of thing. Yeah. And Paul's asked, what does the online video application entail? I was intrigued by that. So what are you asking them to do?
That's great fun.
Yeah, we use an online video application purely to support your application with your CV and cover letter, to bring you to life as a person. So often it's nice to put a face to the name ahead of the day, but the questions themselves are general things like, why are you interested in becoming a medical writer? Things that if you've got to this point, you should already have a firm idea of why you are applying. So it just, embellishes your profile.
Yeah, I think it's half a dozen questions, if that.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's quick. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Okay. There's a question in here somewhere, I've lost it, but just again, I think you said this, but just to clarify it, the question was along the lines of, do I need to have a life sciences background? But you do insist on a life sciences background, don't you?
Yes.
Correct.
So that's to Anonymous, who's saying it's an interdisciplinary degree, Bachelor of Arts and Sciences, focuses on life sciences, but also studying humanities. So does that start to sound like it's out of your catchment, or does it sound like, no, that, you know, depending on quite what the balance in there is, that might still be appropriate?
To me,
life sciences. I think some of this is going to be on a case-by-case basis, so maybe it's fair to say.
It's a little bit out of catchment. We would look for a standard life sciences degree as a basis.
Okay. And some questions, I guess, inevitably. So again, you said it fairly clearly. You have to be a Maxfield for 8 weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I guess the questions are, there's a couple of questions there about how much personal choice is involved in where you end up on your on your placements. In print, I guess there's a balance between business need and personal need, is there?
Yes, so there's a business need element. What we've done with the latest intake of Allegro folk is to actually recruit people who are specifically looking to be based in a particular office. So while they would need to come up to Macclesfield to do the 8-week training phase, the agreement is that they then would go on rotation in our Glasgow office or in our London office or wherever. So we're beginning to do more kind of targeted placements with the latest intake. In terms of overall at the end of the program, where you place, obviously if you've got a preference for location, we would look at that. It needs to be based on business need, because we need people, we need the writing resource where the work is. But yeah, we do pay a lot of attention to location wise, where do these guys want to be. And I think from intake 1 who have been through the process and have recently graduated from the program, they've all ended up in the locations they wanted to be in. So that's a big plus.
Big positive, yeah. Okay, go on, Ellie. Sorry, you're trying to say something.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say it is worth emphasising that Neil's not going to ship you off to Glasgow if you're from London or if you're from Nottingham or something. You know, you do have a say in it. Whilst we have these offices and it's taken into consideration, you wouldn't be forced to go somewhere completely like far away that you didn't want to go to.
On the other hand, going to Glasgow might be very attractive if you want to get away from London. A question's come in here, which is a similar theme. Is there the opportunity to switch between offices during the placements? Does each rotation have to be in the same place? Presumably, you move them around if the opportunity is there. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's easy, Stephanie. That's a straightforward question.
Yeah.
And what I was going to ask, what was I going to ask there? There's not actually a question here. I can see there's not a question here, but there usually is a question along the lines of, you know, I live in, you know, somewhere out of the way sort of thing. You know, can I even if I come to Macclesfield for 8 weeks, can I then work remotely? Can I work, you know, from home or something? I mean, just talk us through your views on that in terms of how that pans out during certainly that first year anyway.
Yeah, so rule of thumb for us is as an associate writer, you can't work remotely, because the associate writer role is essentially a training role. So you need to be in the office working with a team closely to get the benefit, particularly as this is a fast track program. So it's even more valuable to be in an office location. Once you come off the end of the program, if you've hit all the performance benchmarks and promoted to medical writer, then it's a discussion with the agency you're placed in, the team you're placed in terms of whether home working, you know, works for them, if that's something you want to do. We have lots of home workers, but not at associate writer level.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and again, just to put the general context on this, I think that would be the answer from most agencies, if not all agencies. And it's not just because the agencies are being difficult. It really is valuable in that first year to be part of the office. Having said that, the opportunities nowadays for working all over the place in a much more flexible way are really quite impressive, and that's an attraction, I think, but make sure you go through your first year sort of thing, if not longer, to get settled in. Ellie, go on, there's a question from Anonymous again. How did you find moving to Macclesfield? Anyone there before you started? What's Macclesfield like?
Well, so I went back, I'm from Derby, I went back to Derby after I graduated, moved back to Manchester once I got the job, and then commuted from Manchester to Macclesfield every day, and it was absolutely fine. It's only about 20 minutes on the train, and now I'm based in Manchester office all the time.
So you've hit the big city lights, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what was this? Manoj, I'm just going to answer this one. Is it only possible to enter medical writing if you've been on a formal training program like Ashfield's? No, is the answer to your question. You know, and there are a number of agencies now over the last year or two who've developed these sorts of formal training programs. And most agencies have some degree of training, and it's becoming a bit more formalised early on than it used to be. A lot of it's on the job, but absolutely not. Allegro, Ashfield is one opportunity. There are lots of other agencies, and the trick for everyone listening, the trick is to find the agency that suits you. Every agency is different, as I like to tell people. Emma's asked, let's see whether we can get a couple of views on this. What's a typical day in the life of a medical writer?
Well, I haven't been a medical writer for about 20 years, so
it's very, very varied. You will have times when you're working solely on one project, or you'll have times when you've got a few on the go. You might have meetings with your team, meetings either in person, usually over the phone with a client. A lot of I would say the bulk of your time you are doing the writing. You're creating a journal paper or a poster, and that would be sort of interspersed with meetings. But it is very varied, especially if you do go on site, if you're abroad or even within the UK. It is varied indeed.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about the role. Having, like I said, not been a writer for a long time, but the variety within healthcare comms is massive, and really surprised me when I first started down this kind of career route. So yeah, lots of variety, lots of different things going on, lots of things to be able to get your teeth into. Obviously, publication-based work is quite formulaic, but then the other stuff we do, can be quite sort of random, ad hoc stuff. That's it's good. There's lots of variety.
And that's a sort of typical comment from lots of people in MedComms. They like the variety, and the variety of project type and variety of therapy area. So you don't come in, or you don't tend to come in, with whatever your degree is in or whatever, and you go, right, now I'm working in diabetes for the next 20 years sort of thing. You tend to come in on a Monday morning and find out that you're actually now working in cardiovascular or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
It appeals to people in MedComms.
Yeah, in terms of, if you like your science, if you're interested in, healthcare, medicine, whatever, there's a chance to work in different therapy areas. But there is a lot of variety in that regard as well.
Okay, and so another obvious question, which isn't being articulated, but I'll ask it. A year into your program, and what's the horizon looking like? What are the career steps from there on? How do you progress from being now you're a medical writer? What do you see the horizon being?
So the typical progression I found within Ashfield is you become a medical writer. You do that for around 2 years, depending on you as a person and your experiences. And then you would become a senior medical writer. So your first year as a medical writer, you're sort of consolidating that role, you're taking more ownership of projects, etc. And then the second year, you would be moving towards senior medical writer. You'd be starting to review other writers' work and moving towards that sort of position where you might be line managing somebody once you are promoted.
I think the big thing for us, Peter, is obviously having set up Allegro and given the Allegro writers 12 months of pretty intense coaching, development, training. The important thing for us is when they come off the program at 12 months, that they still have that when they're in agency. So it's looking at how we can keep that kind of momentum going in terms of career progression, training opportunities, and that's not done through Allegro. It's then done through our academy, and then through the individual teams that these guys are placed in. So that's a really important step for us. Is that kind of what comes after Allegro?
Yeah, and immediately after you finished, you then work with your manager to set objectives that are tailored to you and how can we help your progression from now on. That's what I found.
Okay, and again, a company like yours has got quite formalised internal training. You just called it the academy program, but it's a mix of on-the-job, formalised training, and presumably some external training. But the training, I know in MedComms now training is very much better than it was 10 years ago, sort of thing. There's quite an emphasis on training, development, and the longer term. And obviously that's represented by what you're saying there.
Well, and it's all based around individual needs and what you want to do. Where do you want to go? Which avenues you want to go down. So yeah, it's all based on your own objectives, your own development plan, and then we look at what we can offer from a training point of view from them.
Okay, excellent. Again, this one's just come in talking about work-life balance, and we talk very much about MedComms. It's deadline driven. It clearly can be stressful at times. But give us a sense again, how you're finding Ellie and Neil, Katie, what your expectations are as people come into this business. Is it a sweatshop? Are you up to midnight every night? How does it work?
No, it's definitely not like that.
Go on, you start.
I think MedComms, my impression of MedComms anywhere is it's very much peaks and troughs. There will be times when you're very busy, there'll be times when you're not as busy. I've found that my team is very, very good at resourcing. So when we are busy, we'll pull in the extra resource so that, we're not staying up all night. It's balanced. And then likewise, when we have capacity, it's offered round. I think that's a benefit of working for such a big company is there is that opportunity, there is that balance, because there will always be somebody that can help. You're never left to struggle on your own and pull late nights or anything like that.
Okay.
I think, if you're thinking of MedComms as a career, medical writing as a career, if you want a 9 till 5 job, this isn't it. It's not 9 to 5. Like Ellie says, peaks and troughs. We're going through very busy phases around Congress season, big meetings that we're doing. Yeah, you might need to put in a bit extra. Go on site. You might have to work weekends, that kind of thing. But on the flip side, there's downtime as well when we're less busy, and we can do other things when it's focused on our own kind of development, that kind of thing. So very much peaks and troughs for sure, but not a sweatshop.
Excellent. Okay. Katie, to bring you in, getting a little bit of feedback on something you're in, but Katie, I'm just interested, this is a silly question in some ways, but people coming into MedComms from a variety of backgrounds, but perhaps thinking more the academic sort of background, what sort of cultural shocks do they face, do you think? What's worth just a couple of points that maybe they need to be prepared for as they're coming into this very different environment?
Yeah, I think the cultural shocks would be, particularly coming from an academic background, is you go from, say, working on your PhD, a single project, to being a part of multiple projects and sitting across 1 or 2 different teams, and having those competing deadlines for different clients and knowing how to prioritize your time and become part of part of the cog and a bigger picture, and keeping things flowing through is probably the biggest shock for people that have come from work where it's all fairly repetitive, say it's lab-based or individually focused around your own research, to come into something that's part of a much bigger picture. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah. I think you need a thick skin for sure. Particularly as a writer, you're going to get feedback on everything you do, whether it's internal feedback from clients, feedback from authors that we're working with, whatever. So you need to have a thick skin and be able to deal with feedback. You might think you've done a fantastic job on something, and somebody else doesn't, but that's part of the job. So that can be a shock to some people.
Okay, Nelly, you're just nodding your head, so you'd agree with
that. Yeah, you have to learn to not take it personally. A client might, like Neil said, you might think that something's done really well. The person that reviewed it internally might think it's great, but if the client turns around and says, no, I want something different, that's not a personal affront to you. It's just the nature of the job.
Yeah. Okay. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with you guys, is sort of close the formal part of the session here and stop the recording. But Katie, can I just ask you to sort of sign off with just that one final reminder of, if people are listening to this and interested in contacting us, what's that email address again? Can you just give that again?
The email address is ahcrecruitment@ashfieldhealthcare.com.
Excellent. Okay. In which case, guys, I'd like to say a very big thank you to the panel. Huge thanks to you. Thank you to everybody for joining in. Don't rush away if you don't need to, because when we stop recording, we're happy to sit here and answer some more questions. But for now, for the recorded version, I'm going to say thank you very much and goodbye. Okay? And wave. Give it a wave. Thank you very much, everyone.